Okay, we are now in the session number 9 of the training, dedicated to the rest of the things that we couldn't see in the 7th and 8th. So we started with the previous sessions to deal about the messaging systems. We started dealing about the scripting. Also, we used XLogic module with these extensions folder or table to use a specific XCommand definition that was already created. But it's time maybe to create our own XCommand. For this, I will remind you that we had in the web manager an example created before, that it was a conditional event. So we had this, no, this not was in the examples, I think, in tests. Yeah. So we had this conditional event. We had the name was temperature messages, but we saw here that we could create different actions in depending on what happens with the triggers of the condition. So the condition was false and then becomes true is a trigger of the condition, and we have an action that was just to send a Telegram message using the default Telegram messaging system that we have already created also. When the condition was false, so becomes from true to false, another message that told us, okay, the temperature is okay again, but I was mentioning that what happens if I want to know what is the temperature and every time. So in this case, what we can do is to use a different action for these cases. So this example helps us to see this possibility to use a specific action that we can create, and we have to do it in this module, in this XLogic module. That is where we create the XCommands. Okay, so what I am going to do is exactly this: create a new XCommand that will be just to include in the message, in this Telegram message, the information related to the temperature. So like part of the message will be a text, like salutation, hello, we are having some issue with the temperature in the room, whatever. The current temperature is, and I will include the value of this current temperature. So take whatever actions you may consider, or blah, blah, blah. So it's just an example to include value, to customize this message. This is interesting for me. In this case, it will be used in this conditional event. So you will see that we could also create the condition in the XLogic. It's possible to do all these things. So I could create everything inside an XCommand. Compare the temperature, if the value is higher than, then send this message. But this is not necessary in this case because we just need the message part, not the if then else, not the comparison of the temperature, because this is made in a different way in this web manager app. So again, I am telling you the same as before. NETx automation is giving you more and more tools to simplify your work. In the past, if you want to do this comparison and then do this thing, and then if the temperature was higher than, then create a specific action, you have to do everything in your XCommand. That is also possible now. But in some cases, you have to think, do I really need to create really complex logics, or maybe I just need a specific part of this logic and include it, embed it in in the specific event or action or condition or whatever. So in my opinion, it's better to use the tools that NETx is giving to you, because it makes your work much more easy to structure, to organize, and you will save a lot of time. That at the end is the most important thing. But you have all the tools at your side. So let's create an action, and then we can come back here to our web manager. So to create the X command that we can use in our projects, we will open again this XLogic specific tool. This is like I used to call it a mini game. I used to call it, it's a funny word. It's again a mini game here inside. And then, of course, you can open whatever command that you can want to check. There is a lot of things from some customers. I have to delete several things because I have a lot of things here. Some tests, some things, but interesting. So, for example, I can show you whatever one logic that I created for a specific port. It's really complex because it's in Spanish. I'm sorry, but it's a lot of conditions, parameters, outputs. It's possible, whatever. So if you have different comparisons, I will explain this in the example. But as you can see, you can do a lot of things in this logics module. We have a customer. Imagine that the power of these logics. We have a customer. I have a very good friend from here, from that is doing electrical vehicle charging stations installations, and they are using NETx BMS. Sometimes it's a small BMS, sometimes it's a bit bigger, to manage all these charging points. With the XLogic X command, they are managing the charging of the cars, and in a very, very smart way, because they are reducing the instant power, the total instant power, depending on the demand, the priorities of the cars, etc., etc. And this is what happens with this is that, in theory, when you design, when the engineers design a station to recharge 100 vehicles, for example, in principle, in theory, they may need 300 kilowatts, for example, as a power. So in principle, they need a substation with a transformer, or all this investment that is huge. But thanks to the NETx automation XLogic module, and this is a real example. I'm not telling you just an idea. No, it's a real example in some projects here in Spain. Thanks to the X command, the XLogic that they are doing, managing all this charging, depending on the time they have to charge the car, depending on the priority of the cars. So this is for public institutions, so they have to charge maybe 100 cars in a city, and they have 14 hours in the night to charge it. So it's a specific situation, but they have reduced these 300 kilowatts power theoretically needed up to 50. So it's incredible because they can manage really smart way the total power. So they are modulating the charge of the cars in order to avoid a maximum level of power. So they permit the property to save this investment a lot, because they didn't need a specific transformer or a substation or whatever. So they are using normal connection to the electricity and saving a lot of money. In this example, this is possible thanks to this tool, the XLogic. So my customer that was really afraid of using these tools in the past because he thought it was really complex, at the end, he could manage to do these really complex things thanks to the XLogic module. So it's really nice tool to complete, to make the global vision of the project reliable and much possible. So let me create a new command. Okay, new command. When you create a new command, you just have to give a name. And then if you want to include it in a specific folder, for example, trainings 2024, for example, dot, and then the name of your blog. So trainings underscore 2024 dot means that it will be a folder where this command will be included. So you can create folders with this path structure with name and dot, and then my message with value, for example. Let's give this name. So it's totally new. So what do we need? Okay, I think we need an item to evaluate my input. In this will be the temperature, but just a generic name. I'm input item 1, it's okay. You can change the name if you want. A parameter, let's say yes. I would say I want to send the telegram to a specific device in Telegram, and this is my destination. And look, the data type can be really a lot of things, even related to messenger profiles, even related to whatever item you have. Many type could be Boolean, number, string, but also the WID reference for the web manager specific items, or an alarm, or a schedule, or a lot of different things, users, groups, visualization devices specific. So you can define a lot of things as items or as parameters. In this case, I would say, okay, if I select messenger profile Telegram in my when I invoke this module, I will be prompted to select from the messenger profiles from Telegram, for example. So same here. So the items that you can use is all these things. So related to Windows in the visualization, so it's really, really complex. Is any output needed? I don't know. Maybe not, because we are just creating a message and sending in Telegram. So maybe outputs is for other cases, like I want to write a value in a ventilator, so to turn on a ventilator or turn off a light or whatever. This normally when you need outputs, but we just need for this part of the logics to generate a message, including information coming from an input. So this is possible. Yes, about the comment from my colleague Robert, I'm telling complex, and it's better to say sophisticated or flexible, as you say, Robert. Yes, it's possible to do really sophisticated things in an easy way. That's the best way to tell it. Okay, so just one item. Let's say maybe we can put here the temperature, but we are creating in fact a generic module, so it doesn't have to be temperature. It could be a humidity or whatever, but it doesn't mind. Input item, input. The name is not important, just input. Destination, okay, for the Telegram message. This is my command. So I have my header, and in this first main window I have just possibility to create different things. Normally you start with commands. I need a command, something to do. This is what I was mentioning you. If I had to do the global logic, whatever, maybe I had to say if then else. So if, and inside here I would put the comparison, the temperature is higher than whatever, then I write this Telegram data, else nothing. So if I had to create my logics completely, I would do this, and else do nothing. It would be the case. And then in this if then else, inside, double click, here inside is where I have all these possibilities to do this comparison, all these things. But I remind you, this is not necessary, because we are just using this X command specifically to send a Telegram message with some information inside. So to trigger this X command, we have the conditional event also outside. So this will be part of a superior strategy that is our conditional event that will trigger this event. So we only need to create this command. Of course, there are other possibilities. You can have a go-to and go-to markers to have some loops in the programming. A block of commands, a command block includes whatever, even command blocks that includes blocks or whatever. So this is also possible. So all these kind of things are possible. Really sophisticated things you can do. So also cases and switches. So all these things, different options, whatever. So it's possible to do complex things. So many of these things I never used, but they are here to be used. You can also write a comment. Just to comment what is this command for. If you're only using one command, it is nonsense to write nothing here because you know for what is this Xlogic definition, but it's also good to document your systems. So let's go. Inside the command, we will find a lot of possibilities, really a lot. Three things: values, comments, and functions. Okay, well, and something related to comments, but it's not important. Functions. I will start with functions. For example, I want to create a text. So you will find about strings a lot of things. This is what I am going to use. I'm going to create a multi-string. This is a block I can use with up to 10 texts. It's not a problem if I need more. Not a problem, because I can also, for example, concatenate up to 20 strings if you want. So this is really flexible. Okay, and look, we have new line. That's good. New line. We can convert character to strings. We can compare strings if necessary. So you can compare two strings and the result is if they are exactly the same or not. Find a text in the string, it is true or false. So you have a text and you put here part of the text you want to compare. And if this part of the text is in the input one, the output is true or false. So it's fantastic. So you have a lot of a lot of things to do only with strings. You can convert to lower, so not to capital letters, to lower letters, to upper letters is to convert to, into capital letters. So a lot of things, but in this case we are only going to use just add multi-string, enough with 10 inputs. But this is only strings. So look that we have a lot of more things. For example, mathematical comparison is possible to have absolute value, because add multi, we used this before. You remember, we add multi values with the scripting, but it was already created, this module, so we didn't need to create this module. But there is a lot of different functions. Sometimes you have a help that is also orienting you what to do with this, but normally are self explained. Okay, division of numbers, the floor number of an input, the logarithm to base 10. This is, I guess, to base e. The maximum of different values. This is very useful. Maximum, the average, the minimum, a modulo of dividend and divisor, multiply multiple numbers, a power of with exponents, generate a random value, whatever. So there is a lot of things we can do. It's not going for this example to be used, but it's possible. Okay. Well, even about the server itself, if you can include things about related to the server status, include this in the logics. So this is fantastic. About the workspace name, simulation, there is a lot of things you can explore and you can play with without any issue. About time things to do. So related to dates, to day of the week, of the day, hours, holidays, we will see an example of about managing times. The second example will be about this. Okay. For example, about Lua scripting, we can invoke a Lua function in the X command. I will use this also in the second example. This is really fantastic because if you are afraid of programming in scripts engine, you can use the script modules here. So you can, instead of write functions with parameters and so, and be afraid of forgetting a comma or a colon or whatever, it's possible to invoke Lua functions in the X command. And if you are good with blocks, you will do it. Things about the engine, about the events. Events means WIDs for the web manager events. Okay, you can convert things. I will use also this. You can convert date to strings, strings to dates, convert a number to a boolean, convert to number. We have used this with a script before, if you remember. So it's also possible. Convert to string. That's also very useful. Comparisons, of course. This was also used somehow in our X commands. No, we create a condition, and the conditions were these equals greatest using these comparisons, but also Boolean operation. This is really fantastic because you can do logics, no, and multi. If it's Boolean, if it's a number, you can get true or false if this is on, is a string. Boolean operation, also interesting, and also really powerful, this bit bytes operation, because you can get information, for example, from a word if one bit specifically is set or not. For example, imagine that you have 1 byte. Every single bit of this byte is has a significance. It's typical in HBAC status, for example, in KNX. So you can get if one bit is set or not. So it's very simple to show you. You get the value and the bit position, number 1, 2, 3, or whatever. And this, you get a Boolean, true or false. So you can do whatever with this Boolean. So if it's true, then write whatever text to whatever thing. So really interesting, no? You can get the high byte, the low byte of a word, the high word or the low word of a double word. So you can extract information. So you get here a double word, and you get as an output the low word of that double word. So, and then you can get the low byte of this word and whatever. So, and you can treat this information independently. Really powerful because you can set bytes to a specific value to modify things or whatever. So when you are also working with Modbus, it's interesting to have these possibilities. So you can set or reset a bit. So set is put in 1, reset is put in 0. All these operations are possible also. So I'm just showing a lot of possibilities. About variables, if a variable exists or not, the name of the variable, the value, it's also possible. This is global variables, the same with local variables. It's possible to manage this. And about the items, of course, get the item ID, get a property value. That will be really interesting for us. Or the parent item ID, if it's inside a folder, whatever, the value of the item is also useful. I will use this and I will use this. If it's valid or not, the quality, and so on. And about in and out, we are using a lot also this. About the input item, we can get the item ID or the value. If we use outputs, the same if I'm using parameters to fix a value in the parameter. So it's really about functions is really interesting. So you in functions, you can do a lot of things. You can combine different functions, of course, and do a lot of things. But what we need to do in a command, CMD, this is the block, I repeat you, we are creating a command specifically. So here, what we can use is commands. And commands, you can only use one command per block, per command, not per block. So what to do? What to do in this command? This command is for what? For setting a value, for writing a value, not the case, but this is very also used. To read an item, to set a property item of a value, whatever, not the case also. For the variables, to set a local variable or a global variable, decrement or increment or whatever, also possible. About the engine, event properties for the branch properties for the events in our web manager, about KNX to force the reading values. Let's explain here. A read on reconnect flag, but you can force it in other cases to log things in the server. Well, things that maybe we can think they're interesting, but I want to go to the real interesting things in my case. Well, Lua scripting, you can also call a command or a script that you have already stored, because you can also customize this include in the libraries your own scripts. And about message, message is not the same as messenger. Some of you asked before, it's possible to get a pop-up in the Windows, and we mentioned, yes, you can get a sound, you can get a message in Windows. This is for that reason. Message you send to a specific client, to a specific user. Client means a specific terminal, an iPad or whatever, and a specific user, the type of the message to send, sound, wherever. This is also explained, so please, if you have the specific knowledge base link for this X message, is interesting. In my case, we are interested to the next part of these comments about the messenger options. So you can use these blocks to create the publish of a tweet, the sending of an email, the sending of an SMS, or the sending of a telegram. That is my function today. Okay, my function today is this. Sending a telegram needs just two things. The profile to send a telegram to a specific terminal. You may remember this from the BMS. In module messenger telegram, we have the profiles with a specific token. In this case was common token for two terminals, and I told this BMS will write information to my computer Telegram desktop app, and this second one to my smartphone. I only use this. This is the profile. Okay, so this is related to that. So the profile and the message. Okay, the message, I can tell you, is this. And what is the profile? And if you remember, the profile was a parameter. I defined the profile as a parameter. So I just have to put this here. It is a parameter. And the parameter was called destination. So that's it. When I use this module, it will be, the profile will be a specific parameter that I will remind you what it was. The nature of this parameter is a messenger profile Telegram. So it will appear as it appeared when I use the normal Telegram sending message by default. So, and as you can see here, the command is send Telegram. This is because I selected this send Telegram command here. I will complete this add multi-string now, but also we have things about set or reset the data, things related to sockets. We can create HTTP sockets and do whatever, send texts, close socket, etc. So we can create socket specific. There is a lot of things we can use also with sockets. X commands to run an X command again internally. So we have internal X commands called by another X commands. and the Xlogic commands that you have also included in your library. So it's really powerful. It's really powerful. So let's do this example. And I will show you how to do this example. So we need a text that can start with fixed tests like hello, for example. So we have also values here. And maybe we can use a string, just a text that says hello. And I will say the item with ID, let's say, but let's inform which is the item we are monitoring. So this is a fixed test, the item with ID, I put it here, and let's put the item ID. So the item ID, it's an input item, and I have the possibility to select this item ID. So it's automatically, it's only one input, it's automatically represented here. Because I want to say, hello, the item with ID, whatever, item ID, and with the description, for example, it has a description. What is the description of an item? It's a property of this item. I will show you. If I have, for example, in KNX, I will use the in KNX. Imagine that I have this item. Okay? What is the item ID? The item ID is not temperature of the room, it's this. NETx, XIO, KNX room, whatever, and the group address. So if I get the item ID, I have really no idea of what it is if I don't know what is the KNX programming. And the end customer, of course, do not need the KNX programming to know it. But this item has properties. And one of the properties is the description. And then the description says that this is the temperature in Celsius of the room. And this is much more useful than this information. So this is what I mean. I want to express, okay, this is the item, but maybe you need to know what is the description of this item that is more useful for you. Okay. Other properties, maybe interesting, is the unit. Celsius degrees is also interesting because maybe you are creating this module generically, and in one case it could be for temperature, but in other case maybe it is used for humidity or it is used for the CO2 level, and then the units change. It can be percentage in humidity, can be parts per million, ppms, in terms of CO2. So maybe it's interesting to understand that I can also use the unit, okay, for that. The value is also a property, but it's not necessary to call the value as a property because we have item value as an element. But it's also properties. There is a lot of properties. The timestamp, the source of the element that sent the last information came from KNX with this IP address and this original address. So it's interesting to know sent by this element, so you can get this property also. Original item ID, you have it here also, and so on. So some properties like it is read on Reconnect. Yes, this is read on Reconnect. And how many time has come from the last time it gets the information? Almost 6 minutes here, so that's good to know. So the last time we get this information was whatever seconds ago. We can include this information. It's a property also. So just to remember, this is the description, property number 101. This is the key, the ID that I need for my composition of the information. Okay. If I use, instead of the KNX item ID, the alias, okay, the alias has its own description. So the item ID is the room 0101 temperature. So I don't need to put the description of the item, but we can include it. But if I take the item from KNX, the item ID is not clear for me. So it's better to work with alias because I can give the name that I want and I can organize the items in the folders that I know. So it's more explicit, much more clear if I use this because I have all the information that I need in the item ID of the alias. And now the description is really not necessary, but we can include it. So let's go back here and we are componing my text. So hello, the item with ID, wherever, another text now, space, and with description and then I put the description. How to put the description of the item? It's a property. So the item has properties. So getting the property, the value of a property is very easy because I just need an item ID. What is the item ID? Again, this I can copy paste also from here, but it's the same. This is the item ID, and which property is the description? Number 101. As I showed you before, I will show you again. You only have to put this. So you get this is a text. So it here. So now I am composing a text that says, hello, the item with ID, whatever, and with description, whatever description, and then I will put here another text. Has a current value higher than normal limit, let's say. Okay. Then I will insert a new line because I want to express the rest of the text in a new line. And then I will put current value is whatever. So let's put it string the current value is, and now another magic. We have the value. What is the value for my item, input item? Is this, is the item value of my input. I have to select it because if I don't select it, it will be a mistake for me. You can put a default value, but it's normally not necessary. Okay, but this is a value, it's just a number. And maybe this number, if I link it directly, the BMS will for sure put all the value converted to a string. It will be done automatically, but I can do it with a format. That's another good trick. I can use that conversion, convert to a string, because this will be a value. Okay, convert to string. It's not explained here the format, but I think I remember how to do it. So this is my value, but I can also express a format. Because maybe I only want to use one decimal part or two decimals of the temperature. So format, it's possible. And as far as I remember, maybe my colleagues can correct me, it's percentage dot 2f. This is for 2 decimal. If it's not working, I can check. Current value is this value. Now is a text because it's converted to string, but with a format. And what is the unit? The unit is a property also, so I can get also the property. In this case, I know it's Celsius degrees. I could write a text Celsius degrees, but maybe it's easy if I use this property value of the item ID. I can copy item ID, not value. Copy paste is possible, item ID. And what is the property for the unit? Let's check it again. For the description was 101, description 101, and the unit is 100. This is the unit of this item. To have the unit, you need to define properly the data point in KNX. Telegram definitions, remember, we had the data type with a specific DPT defined, so this is not correct. For example, for the illuminance, it's not temperature, so we should have to check it properly, but in this case, but for the temperature is okay. So you can see that the temperature is in Celsius degrees, so it's okay. I will not save this now. I would save but not restart. I don't want to restart the server now. Okay. This is not affecting my practice. So property ID, sorry, 100, no? Yes, 100 is what we need here. So just put a number here, 100. 100 is the property for the unit. And finally, I can finalize with a string just to put a dot. Please check this sensor, for example, just to finalize with the number 10. So this is my command. I will just check if everything is okay. So I didn't miss to indicate the inputs, items, or the properties or whatever. It's everything okay. I have to compile it. Okay. I will save also. And now we have to use it. So let me close this, exit. But what happens if I want to use this? I will not find it. I will show you. If I go to extensions and try to find this X command definition, you will not find. Trainings 2024 is not here. What happens? We have created in the X command module my command, but we need to load. So we have to tools. We need to load it to my base. It's generated, but it's not. Here it is, because it's by date of modification. So this trainings, whatever, I load it. So then I am able to use it. But I will go directly to the web manager. So it seems that I should have it here. Let's go. I will create an action. Temperature higher than limit, including value. Okay. And now, if I select the X command, I should find, yes, my trainings 20 message with value, and what are my ingredients. I have to select an input ID. So will be, for example, the temperature of this room. And the destination is a messenger profile Telegram. So I am offered to select what is the destination and nothing more. The rest of the things will be done by the module. So I just select, I'm saving, and let's check it. Let me open my Telegram app. Telegram desktop. There it is. Okay, we have this from a few seconds. And if it's again higher, we should get a new message. Let me delete this clear history of this. So let's see what happens if next time we get a higher value. I can force it if you want. I can force it. I will force it to it's exactly 21.3. So I will 20.2. So the temperature is okay. If it's going higher than okay, I have to make it smaller to see both things at the same time. 21.3 as before. And now if it's growing, let's say 21.4, it's not the first time it has the trigger. It's a new one. So you get my message. And you see that is working. It says, hello, the item with ID, room, whatever, slash temperature, and with description, whatever, so it's working fine, has a current value higher than normal limit. New line. Current value is 21.42 decimal. Okay. Please check this sensor. And now if I write this, it's again working because it's again a new time, but with only 2 decimals. It's working really nice. Okay. So it's not complicated. It's logic. It's a tool that gives us the possibility to do all these things. If it's going back to 20.1, for example, temperature is okay again. So it's working really good. 21.0, first time is normal message, and next time is a complex message because the conditional event has this really special feature that if it's true and then it's again true, you can do a different thing and maybe it can help you to enrich the information, to analyze what is happening and so on. So another thing that works very well. Only one missing thing today, to have the report by email, but well, maybe it's an issue in my old computer. So this was a really nice example, now finished, a conditional event, and I will show you another example already made for you to understand the power of this. I will go to the knowledge base for the last time today and show you something. Okay. The BMS platform, we have all the information here, but we can search. And there is a function for Lua, a specific function that calculates the difference between 2 dates. I will explain. My colleague mentioned before that do all these electrical vehicle charging stations for a lot of cars and that use the Xlogic to reduce the amount of power and so asked me the first time he was trying to use the Xlogic some years ago, he asked me, Julio, I need a function that calculates how many time a car has been charging in terms of days, maybe hours, minutes, and seconds. And please to have this in a string. So I want to show in the visualization the time, the charging time of every car. No, since you plug the the plug into the car, how many times the charge has been running. Okay, so I was thinking about this, and then we found this possibility to calculate the difference of the date. Now, this is not necessary because now we have a property that is called the time elapsed, but it was not implemented some years ago. All these days I've been telling you the BMS is live, is improving month by month with different new functionalities. This is one of that, the time elapsed. Because if I have this time elapsed, I didn't need to do this complex calculation, to use this diff date functionality. So maybe they implement this because of my comments about these examples of what I needed. But I will show you the process to get this information. So I say, okay, if I get a date, initial date of the charging, the initial date of the charging, I compare the current date and time with this initial date of the charging, I can do the calculation. So what we used was this item with the current time and date. And what we do was to copy this value at the moment the car starts to charge, we take this value and write it in a, I think it was in a bar for the testing, in a date, in a bar like this date. So if I let me show you. If I copy, not server, is today. If I copy this this value, the value, copy value, and I paste here, we get this fixed value here, and we can compare this dynamic value with this fixed example. Okay, this was just for you to understand what we did. So now it's not necessary because we just have a on-off or status of the charging, and every single item has, as I told you, every single item has the time elapsed. So it's possible to use with this calculation. But I did the following X logic for this example. So I will show you how we used the diff date Lua function inside the X command. That was fantastic. So let me open my example. Diff dates, I think it's this. It's in curso. Curso is training in Spanish, but it's the same. So what I did was exactly this. I only need the initial time, so that date fixed time, and I just needed the time transferred as an output, as a string. Okay. So how to calculate the result in days, hours, or minutes, or seconds? It was just needed in days, hours, minutes, and seconds, not necessarily in weeks or months. Well, really simple, because this Lua function block that I showed you before, Lua function, this block, you just have to put the function name. Look, the next diff date is what I'm showing you from the knowledge base. You have all the Lua functions, all these functions here in the knowledge base. It's inside the reference manual. Okay, BMS core server with Lua script. So you get all the functions here: standard, constants, event callbacks, creating items, in-out conversions, whatever. Okay, all these functions, date and time processing, add date, diff date. Okay, all are explained here. Diff date is the one that I just needed. Okay. So just this and the arguments explained in the website, but you need to have the subtraction from this and these dates, and then write the result in the unit you select. If you put here a D, it will be calculated in days. Okay, so I need this. And I write the result in a local variable because I will get different variables, different results, because as you can see here, I just copy paste this block, exactly the same, and just change to calculate in hours. I use H, give me the result in hours. And then I wrote the result here in hours. And the same for minutes and for seconds. So it's copy pasting, block, the same values, subtract and calculate it in minutes. Minutes is not the M. M will be for months. N is for minutes in this case. So just read the manual. And then local variable, I have the minutes and the seconds. But the problem was how to express the result, because if the car has been charging 3 days and 8 hours, my result in hours is not 8, is 80 hours. 72 plus 8 is 80 hours. So imagine that I get the result here 3, here 80, here 2,451, and here 500,000 seconds. So I have to have all this information. I have to calculate the rests, do some calculations. And this is what you can see here. What I did, and it's not complex, I promise, was, okay, I need the result in days. So I get the local variable days, and I get it converting to string with this format. I repeat, with 0 decimals format. I convert to string and I put here. Okay, the result will be whatever days, comma. In fact, I should put here a space. Whatever days, comma. And how to calculate the hours. So I thought, okay, I need, if I have 3 days as a result and 80 hours, I need to multiply the days 24 times and subtract the total number of hours minus this multiplication. So it's what I did. I multiply local variable days, multiply to 24, and I subtract the number of hours calculated, local variable hours, subtract this 80 minus 72 should give me 8 format hours. So I just had to think a few minutes to do this because it was not easy at the beginning, but it worked well. When you get the idea, say, okay, how to calculate the minutes? Okay, multiply the hours by 60 and do the subtraction of this minus this number of hours calculated to 60 with the format, and this is the minutes. Okay. And finally, multiply the 60 and subtract all the overall number of seconds minus this with the format converted to strings, and that seconds. And that's all. So all this multi-string, this string is written as a result. There's an output, the time transcurred is that. And that's my logic module. I will compile and save because I add some spaces. And this is the module. I do the calculations using the Lua function block. So I am invoking Lua functions, but inside the X commands. So I get my X command. I will load it because I have to do some changes in curso div dates. Yes. And now I will show you how to invoke an X command again. We have variables to use, so maybe we have used this variable date1 and write the result in string 1, for example, so you can see the result here. So X command event definitions, time charging the car, type, and here instead of input, that could be also because normally we use this input, but my input is not going to change because it's a fixed date. So I have to force it every time. Timer, cyclic, or a specific time on the day, cyclic every 1 second. It's a bit, I am forcing a bit the computer to do these calculations, but let's say every second do the calculation. So time. So options is this, and now I take my X command. That would be curso div dates. What is the initial time item? My initial time item will be my date item. And where to put the time transcript, the result, in a string item, because it will be a text. If I say OK and I save, I guess we will have some result because I had done the copy of this date here was done, as you can see here, 9 minutes, 20, 21, 23, 20. Well, sometimes it takes more than 1 second to calculate, but it's working fine. And what if I change this value? If I change this value, let me copy the format and right here, value, imagine, when did we start the training? It was the 21st of May at 090000, more or less. So how many times have been doing the training? We have started 2 days ago, 5 hours ago, 9 seconds ago, and it's calculated every second. So it's really working really fine. What is the limit? The limit is, I think, 1st of January, I think, 1970, I think. Let me put it and force it. Let me try if it's possible. Yes, it's working. 19,866 days, 14 hours, 9 minutes, 9 seconds. So it's working fine. And this is what we can do. With X commands, we can do whatever we need. I get another example, just to finish this explanation. I can show you, it was from date time. It was something that came from Modbus, another colleague that asked me about a Modbus, but it's not here. I'm not sure why not. Why is not here? I cannot show you here, I think. I cannot show you here, but it was a Modbus to analyze specific double word, and then we could extract different dates and hours from this. It's not here. It's a pity, but it was really nice example to show you. But it's okay. We have something similar here. So split word into bits, for example. This is the example I told you before. If you have a word with 16 bits, you are just splitting this into 16 outputs. So you are just asking if the bit is used, and you write output. So you have one input, 16 bits, and 16 outputs, 1 bit. So this is the output. So you set the bit number 13, so it's bit set, and you write the bit in the specific output. So this is also useful if you have one word and you have to send 16 independent outputs with one bit. It's possible to do with this block that is already created. You don't have to do anything, just to use it, just to invoke this conversion split word into bits, and then just what is the input, and this is the 16 outputs, Boolean outputs coming from specific word that, for example, can be different information from an inverter in Modbus, or from an electrical charging station, or whatever. So it's also possible, and it's already made by our colleagues. So it's just it's common to use, ready to use. So, and to finish today, after finishing this part of the logics and Xcommand, I hope it has been interesting to you. We will talk about the cloud portal, that it's specific portal that we have. So I will enter with my user and password. I have two-factor authentication, so I have to come to my smartphone. I put here the code from the Google Authenticator, compatible with our BMS, and then I log in. So what is this tool intended for? This tool is to have different BMS. For example, my home server is this. So if I select from this list of servers, I select my home server, and you can see it's online. It's a main server, not a standalone, because if I show you my computer, my own computer is this one. This is the computer where I am working with the system. So it's standalone server. It's not main backup configuration. It's just a standalone. But my home server, this is main server, because we have the backup server. But the backup server is not online because I have to start it again. I just stop it. I think it was stopped to show you. And then if I start the backup server again, it will take some seconds, but it will become standby, not active, but it will appear in my Cloud Portal. So Cloud Portal is a web page or web solution based on web, where an integrator or an end customers can access to all the servers that they have. So now you can see standby mode, and now it's working. So in my servers, I have one other test backup server that it's really offline because I couldn't open it. My main backup that I can also group in different groups. So I have my groups working, my groups home. Okay, so you can create groups and order by groups. You have an overall view of your servers here, uptime, workspace that you're using. If there is a cloud project, we will see tomorrow with the visualization for this, bring your own device. It's for that. And then every single server is possible to check here. So, for example, this is the main server. You can see here the map, so you can know where I live. In Spain, Europe, okay, north of Spain, most beautiful part of the country, promised. Asturias is my region. This is my region. So you can see where are your different servers in the world, okay, here. This is informative for you. Database is okay, the web manager is okay, the web server is okay, the cloud project is home, whatever. Activities, all this information about connection or disconnection of the server. Fantastic. My items, about the gateways, okay? items related to database and so on. So you can do backups. Fantastic. I can do a backup of my server. I can create a backup. I can schedule backups, etc. That's fantastic. The logs, great. You can have all your logs or all your um, information here. That's really good. But also, you can access remotely. So it's fantastic because you can access to the web manager. For example, if I just press here, I will open a window, but it's not local. It's using the NETx Automation Cloud, so it's totally secure to access the web manager remotely. Maybe because I am in local connection, it's not working, but normally it works. So I log in, and I access to the web manager of my home project. So then I can also access to the visualization, for example. And then I can access visualization app. If I put my user and password, I am still working on the visualization. It's not finished, but I can select visualizations, and then I can access remotely to the visualization. So this is an example of the visualization. You may remember I was asking the price of the electricity coming from HTTP, so you have it here. This is one example. That's a pop-up. I have this information from electricity. What has happened now is that my lights are on because I have a time from yesterday. But you can see it's cheap or not with this green or red, higher or lower than average is with the arrows, and the price per hour, you can see it here. It's cheap. It's not complicated. Okay. For example, of course, you can have access to the HVAC control systems or whatever, temperatures, but it's just an example. It's not, it's a bit awful. It's my house and I didn't have enough time to finish it. And the electrical board where you have a lot of information from the Modbus elements. So I told you that we have a lot of things, some other information from the protections, if it's okay, number of cycles, number of triggers, the hours of all these elements, differentials or direct protections. You can also change some protections are in serial with a binary actuator, so I can act to these elements also. I can get information from any of the protections directly, so it's possible. If I have this information, there is some issue. I know that I have some issue with the Modbus device. Some of these elements are not working fine, but just visualization. But I am accessing remotely. Even if I am in Australia, I can access remotely to my house project. So from this point of view, it's really interesting. No? Also, you will see in the visualization, but I am telling you, we can have dynamic elements in the visualization. This is a normal button, this arrow that you can see here. I will tell you tomorrow, but there is a property of the button that is the rotation, and I can dynamically change that rotation dynamically with a specific item. So if I use an icon that with rotation 0 is pointing to the south, this angle will change and will show me where the wind is coming, because 0 is coming from the north, so the arrow is pointing to the south. So as you can see, it works. It's 336 means the wind is coming from this. So this is really nice. Now, just an example, but also not only web manager of visualization. I can close these connections, but also I can connect using a VNC connection. Well, it's a loop back connection are not enabled, but it's possible to open a VNC client, the server. What I can do is with a home server. It's because I am in the same network. I am in local with all the servers. But you can open a server and as if you have it like here. So you are not accessing only remotely using a web. It's also possible to access using VNC client that I have it installed. VNC client. Maybe it's because I close this application. Well, okay. So you can access this element also. So it's really interesting. So you have access to your servers and you can see how my servers are. What is the situation for each one. You can create a backup of whatever server and you can access remotely if possible. So if it's in standby, it's not running, it's not possible. But for a server that is running, you can access remotely to your server, even to your own server. So if I select my own PC and I am going to remote, I will be able to open my web manager, for example, and this is using a secure cloud connection. And for you, it's really simple because you don't have to do almost anything. You just have to go local to the server, to the computer where your server is, and when you log in with your cloud portal, you will be offered to include here. There will be a button here, add the server to your, and that's it. So all of them are already in the cloud portal, but you can do it. And it's also really cheap because to have this cloud portal, you can try for free. But then if you want to have an account for 2, 3, 5, 10 servers, it's only a few euros per month. It's a monthly fee that my colleagues can tell you if you are interested. But in my opinion, it's really nice because sometimes you have customers that pay you to do backups every month. You can do it automatically and don't have to go there and to check things locally because you can do it remotely in a safe way and without configuring any routers, any networks. It's done automatically. Okay, so this is the last thing I wanted to show today, and we are finishing the session now. Thank you very much for your attention again, and we will finish the training tomorrow with the visualization.